How does one come up with inspired, captivating musical ideas? Two contrasting composers of the 20th century argued about this in a debate that became famous, and failed to answer the question. We want to do better and take up the challenge with the help of a simple scheme. It shows that inspiration is not about secret knowledge or privileged access to the world spirit, but about a simple, fundamental principle of creativity. The debate was started in 1920 by the German composer Hans Pfitzner. In a polemical pamphlet entitled The New Aesthetics of Musical Impotence, he claimed that the quality of a melody such as Träumerei from Schumann's Kinderszenen could only be recognized, but not demonstrated. We could not agree on this intellectually. There were no arguments to be made against those who did not intuitively recognize the beauty of the melody. We could only play the melody and exclaim, "How beautiful!" The debate about whether brilliant musical ideas can't be analyzed or logically deciphered was also going on in Pfitzner's day in connection with conservative, late Romantic, and even nationalist aesthetics on the one hand and avant-garde, intellectual movements on the other. Pfitzner's attitudes were marked by anti-Semitism and undemocratic nationalism. He also speaks of the German sensitivity in Schumann's melody, and suggests that one must have the right German sensibility to recognize the beauty of such a melody. We do not want to gloss over this side of Pfitzner, and we want to express our dismay about it in no uncertain terms. However, because the debate concerns a fundamental question of creativity, we want to abstract from it. Pfitzner's assertions aroused the opposition of Alban Berg, who, before becoming a student of Arnold Schoenberg, the inventor of the 12-tone method, had toyed with the idea of studying with Pfitzner. In a series of writings in a leading music magazine, he attempted to refute Pfitzner's claim by showing how the quality of melody could indeed be analyzed. Berg first points to the logic of keys, which assigns a special position to Träumerei in the cycle of Kinderszenen. He then asks how Pfitzner can dismiss the melody as ascending through the triad and lacking in sophistication. Berg continues by saying that Pfitzner fails to recognize that Träumerei actually exhibits three characteristic features of beautiful melodies: outstanding conciseness of motifs, a wealth of relationships between the motifs, and a rich variety in their use. The ascending fourth at the beginning determines the following descending motifs as a varied repetition, transforming itself into other intervals in the process. In addition, the dissonant secondary note E develops a characteristic charm. Berg also hears the rhythm as anything but unsophisticated, as Pfitzner claims. There is a sophisticated constant alternation of emphasis on the strong and weak beats. The half and whole cadences of the individual four-bar phrases all end on a different beat of the bar. According to Berg, the harmony is also by no means as simple as Pfitzner suggests. The harmonic changes took place in descending and ascending harmonic changes, and the melodic climaxes were formed in increasingly stronger chords, from triads to seventh chords to ninth chords with a minor ninth. But Berg goes even further. He contradicts Pfitzner, who characterizes Träumerei as a typically composition for piano for two hands. According to Berg, it is actually a strict four-part movement that could easily be understood as a string quartet, wind ensemble, or vocal movement. In particular, he highlights a four-part imitation. This clearly distinguishes the Träumerei from the other pieces in the Kinderszenen, which are unambiguously written for the piano. For historical reasons, the debate between Pfitzner and Berg must be seen in the context of the conflict between conservative ideals of beauty and modernist aesthetics, which prioritize authenticity of expression over euphony. Berg implicitly represents the conviction that musical quality is a question of complexity, which Pfitzner obviously disputes. But did either of them actually explain what the emotional and aesthetic power of a perfect melody actually lies in? If we take a step back and leave Berg and Pfitzner aside for a moment, is Schumann's Träumerei really the prime example of a perfect melody? We can certainly dispute this, as the conclusion seems strikingly unbalanced and indeed lacking in sophistication, as if it had to be brought to a quick end. In this light, Berg's analysis seems rather superficial or selective. Some arguments, such as the question of the key arrangement of the entire cycle, raise the question of how far context plays a role in assessing the quality of the melody. It is likely to be significant. But did Berg really unlock the secret of the brilliant melody? Probably not. Detailed analyses are likely to come to nothing, because the convincing form in music is probably a characteristic of perfectly interlocking structures that only come together as a whole at a higher level, as Gestalt psychology has so convincingly shown. It may be that there are flashes of inspiration or brilliant ideas that creative people actually experience as such. However, these are likely to be preceded by a great deal of unconscious preparatory work, semi-conscious fiddling about, and familiarization with the material. At the beginning of all creative work, there are always processes of chance. Ideas do not fall from the sky. They always follow the same pattern. One plays around with the material without evaluating it and encounters structures that seem to be more than just a meaningless arrangement of individual elements. Then one tries to work out this gestalt more and more. Can we, as Berg believed, precisely name what we find beautiful or moving in the process? Probably not. But it is possible that, as we gain a better and better understanding of our brains, we will one day be able to unravel the mystery of beauty. Creative processes in music are still not fully understood today. The way we talk about music continues to be shaped by concepts from the 19th century. In doing so, we perpetuate misconceptions and ambiguities that hinder true understanding. Even fundamental terms can cause confusion, as this video shows. Take a look, you might find it interesting. How do you overcome creative slumps? Write your thoughts in the comments or subscribe to our channel. There's a lot coming up and the best is yet to come.